Welcome to Kcse English. In today's episode, we continue our discussion of Henry Ole Kaelo's Blossoms of the Savannah. In today's episode, we are going to start our discussion of characterization in this novel. If you recall, we noted that when describing a character, you need to specifically point at adjectives that describe that very character. So as we get into this novel and focus on the various characters in this novel, keep that in mind. With me to discuss this is Madam Brenda Midika. Madam Brenda Midika, welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Madam Brenda Midika is a teacher of English language and well versed with the setting of Kcse examinations. I would like us to begin by looking at the main character in this novel, Ole Kaelo. What type of character is Ole Kaelo? How can we describe Ole Kaelo? Let me begin by saying that Ole Kaelo seemingly is a male chauvinist. How do we see this manifested in this novel? Madam Brenda Midika.
Yes.
Show us.
We first of all come across Ole Kaelo as a man who does not have any esteem for women, even for her daughters and the wife, Mama Milanoi. The way he treats his daughters, that is Tayo and Resian, he keeps commanding them. He denies them the opportunity to seek an education because he does not value the education for the girls. You can even see how he commands the wife that he should prepare the girls for circumcision. You know, he is the man who determines everything there. He does not give the women in his house a chance to speak. And when when Resian says no or stands up to the father, he even slaps her because Resiana said no to his decisions. And so when we talk about male chauvinism, we are looking at a man who believes in his power economically, politically, socially, even in his power as the head of the family. And so he is the decision maker in this house. He knows that these children are too young to get married. He knows that these children should get an education. But what? He is so full of himself that he is the man, and so he's going to make that decision that everything that he says should be done as he says.
Now, having mentioned something about male chauvinism, which is definitely negative, there could be another redeeming aspect of his character.
Yes.
Can we also describe him, apart from being a male chauvinist, as a very hardworking man?
Yes, we can describe him as a very hardworking man. And you know, sometimes we teachers forget to put in something good about Ole Kaelo because we only see the negative part. But what we look at it is that this man is very hardworking. He has been working for this company, but unfortunately he is retrenched. And so he has to find a way of fending for the family. And he now moves from Nakuru to Nasila, whereby he's going to provide for his family. Again, look at how he makes his arrangements as he is moving to Nasila, the village. You see, He has already got himself into a business. He knows that these are the plans that I have for my family because he wants the family to be well fed and to be well taken care of. Again, look at the house that he has built for his family. You can see the description of the author, very vivid, You can see how the furniture was arranged, how the rooms were decorated, how the kitchen was described. And so he is really hardworking. So let's not forget that he is a hardworking man. He is behaving like the African man. You see, come home with bread and butter for people, for the family to eat.
So these days African men don't behave that way? They don't come home with bread?
Now, this is the question that we should be putting to our students. You know, we see there's the whole debate about the boy child being left alone. So our students should go out there and find out that are the men playing these roles of providing for the family the way Ole Kaelo is as hardworking.
Now, that really brings us to a very important point. Ole Kaelo is a human being.
Yes.
And as a human being, he has negative traits and positive traits. So there is a sense in which this aspect of being hardworking is actually extremely positive.
Yes.
But at this level, we then need to invite our students to go back to their environment and see if these kind of characters exist in their society. This is when literature becomes interesting because we see it as a mirror of society. It is simply showing us what happens in our society at a very intense level.
Yes.
And so when we look at Ole Kaelo as being a male chauvinist, there are also other aspects that are positive, but perhaps we should also point out a number of other negative traits. For example, I believe that he's quite greedy in a sense.
Very, very greedy.
Yes.
Because even the moment that he goes to his friend, and his friend tells him, please don't get yourself involved with Olosudori. He is a really man who blackmails people. And these business deals that you are going to get engaged with him, they are not going to end well. But when he's going back home, he is thinking about it, yet he does not pay keen attention to that because he's looking at the wealth that he's going to get.
Yes.
He's looking at the business contracts that he has been given. And he's forgetting that all these things are going to have the consequences there. And so when Olosudori comes to the house and asks for his daughter's hand in marriage, he thinks about it, ponders about it and says, after all, because of the hate that she has for this child, Resian, he finally gives her away to think about it and says, you are going to get married to Olosudori, a man who is as old as he is. The greed, the desire for wealth, you know, we can say some students say it materialistic or materialism. You know, he is materialistic, he is greedy. He has this innate desire to get wealth. He has this innate desire to be rich at any expense. And this expense is, even if I am going to have my child married at an early age and through a forced marriage, as long as I have this money. Again, when he visits Olosudori's palatial homes where he is introduced to where Resian will be staying, you can see both of them, Mr. Ole Kaelo and Mama Milanoi, they are really proud father and mother-in-law. You know, to even think that he can call Olosudori son-in-law, it's really outrageous because of the money and ridiculous. Exactly.
Now,
so that's it. Very greedy, materialistic. You know.
Yeah, I think it is important for us to point out a number of things. When we use certain adjectives, it doesn't mean that the kind of adjectives we use are simply cast in stone.
Yes.
There are so many other adjectives you can use to describe Ole Kaelo. For instance, we may not have mentioned that he is a violent person.
Yeah.
And therefore, a student can pick out that and give an example. Yes. And when you give that example, you actually get the mark for it.
Yes.
So it is important for the students and all the teachers to appreciate the fact that there are very many, adjectives that we can use to describe this particular character. But let's go to the element of being short-tempered?
We come across Ole Kaelo as a very short-tempered character. You can see even when the boys are packing the products, actually the bags that they want to go back to Nasila, he is screaming and shouting, you know, and even as Tayo and Reziana are looking, they are wondering, why is he shouting? Why is he screaming? You know, again, when you talk about short temper, he has had the message that the daughters were attacked. They were attacked by some vagabonds in the village, and so he runs into the school compound, distracts the whole learning, calls Pamwat saying, go and look for these people. The whole village is actually looking for these people, you know, because he does not even ponder about the steps that he wants to make. Now, when Rezian is about to say further about the decision to go to school, when they were, Rezian is thinking now this is the most appropriate time to talk about it. He says, daughter, who told you that I was the one saying about these things? Can you go away? You know, sends her away without even asking her what she really wanted, you see. So he comes out as a person who cannot even control his temper. And you know, this is really detrimental because this is part of what we call anger management, you see, which most people battle with, and even our students know that.
So can we therefore say that together with the hot-temperedness, there is a way in which you could also say he's a strict man?
Yeah, he is. And more so, he is a strict parent, you know.
Yes.
He even tells the daughters, I don't tell you, I don't want to hear you are going for the music festival. Very strict. You know, he tells the daughters, this is what you should be doing. This is how you should be moving around, you see. Because in as much as it is his parental role to protect the daughters. Again, it doesn't mean that your daughters are not going to nurture their talents, or you're not going to assist them in nurturing the talents, or your daughters are not going to interact because you believe that this is how it's supposed to be. We look at this issue of Joseph Parmat and Tayo about the whole relationship. You see, don't do this. This is your brother. You see those kind of decisions.
Yes.
And so this child has not internalized the idea of these clan relationships.
Yes.
And so as a parent, he would have approached it in a very different way to explain to it that this is what should happen, that in our clan, this is it. We see these children are not told about anything like that. The question is, don't do this.
Yes.
No explanations.
Purely prescriptive.
Exactly.
You have to toe this line.
Yes, prescriptive parenting. You see.
And then that then brings us to the other point. Now, how does this character then relate to other characters close to him? And the closest person to him, therefore, is Mama Milanoi.
Yes.
So let's briefly focus on Mama Milanoi and then expound on the relationship between the husband and this lady. One thing that comes out very clearly is that Mama Milanoi is quite submissive in a sense.
Not
and
quite.
Perhaps she has been made to be submissive.
Yes, but we look at this, that culturally, the women in this community were submissive to their husbands.
Yes.
You see. And so she grew up in this community whereby you have to be submissive to your husband. Yes. Even if when he says that, do this, and that decision, you know, it is going to be really, really detrimental, it is going to be bad. She does not have any authority to stand up for her children. And even when she says, prepare them for marriage, make sure they are circumcised, she knows that this is not the act that they're supposed to be doing. And so because of that submissiveness, and I tend to tell my students, this submissiveness comes in because of the lack of economic and social power. You see,
yes.
Because they don't have the two, economic and social power, they cannot be able to say, no, this is not the right decision that we should be taking. And so the women there, they are brought up to fear their men, fear their husbands, extreme fear for their husbands. It's not, you don't question the decisions that they are going to make.
So in other words, really, what determines the relationship between these two is the idea of economics.
Yes.
Who is in control of the power?
Yes.
Who is in control and who is favored by the cultural milieu, so to speak. And therefore, in view of this, we are talking about a patriarchal society where the power is concentrated in the man, and therefore the woman has to remain submissive, and the farthest then the woman can go is to be religious. And we see Mama Milanoi quite religious in a sense.
You know, when they are about to leave, he is praying, God, see us through this journey. You know, she gives that little prayer to be protected from that. Again, what we are saying, yes, they are religious, and then we are also looking at how this society is also undergoing through different changes, because they're coming from this traditional society to a religious society. So again, that's what we are seeing. Now, again, as you are saying that, yes, these characters intermingle a lot because of, we look at their conservative perspective. They're very conservative characters, you see. They believe in the culture. In as much as they've been in the tradition, in the modern setup like in Nakuru, for them they still believe that this culture should be followed as it should be followed. And so when Ole Kaelo is going to the village, he is going to the village keeping in mind that he is bringing 2 daughters, you know, and they are going to marry very famous men of the clan, you see. And the men of the clan are saying that they are going to be circumcised, because these men believe that for a woman to be well preserved, and she has to be circumcised. And so both parents now carry on this traditional view of conservatism in them, you know, that for us to live this traditional way of living, we have to be conservative. We have to act the way the tradition is determining. Again, you can now consider how now this conservatism comes in with the aspect of being alienated for both of them. You see, they now come from the town, the city life, and as they're stepping in the village, you can see both of them, they really try as much as possible to get into the village, in as much as it is a struggle. You see, even the other people in the village are asking them, woman, why didn't you circumcise your daughter at an early age? You know, and Ole Kaelo is also struggling with the same questions that the villagers are asking. So again, both of them are alienated from their cultural setup.
But perhaps more significantly, you may also want to add that apart from just being alienated, these 2 characters do not appear to benefit from the kind of exposure that they have been subjected to in terms of living in Nakuru and so on. And again, our students are fully aware of this kind of situation in our society. The more we get exposed to modernity, the more we retreat back into our own cultural cocoons. For example, you have been told there are parents in this country who live in the cities but have to take their children back home to be circumcised, or rather to go through female genital mutilation. You've heard of that kind of talk from even Europe and America. In other words, even when we get exposed, we always drop back to some of these things that are actually detrimental. But to wrap up our discussion, I think it is important for us to also point out that Mama Milanoi is just not religious and submissive, but she is also greedy.
Yes.
She is also unsympathetic, and especially to her own children, extremely conservative. So in a sense, we can simply say she betrays her children.
Yes, she betrays her children, because as a mother, even when you see that the father is not making the right decisions, and deep in your heart you are convinced that this is not the right decision, you really have to speak out, you see. And she really knows the daughter's ambitions, you know. We want to go to university. Why can't she pursue those ambitions and pursue that agenda? But again, we would say probably it is the society or the community that helps the author draw out these two characters as they are, remembering that what is the author's intention, that we look at these characters and say that indeed there are positive and negative aspects. Which positive aspects are we going to carry on in life?
I think to sum up, we should say that literature being a reflection of society, what Ole Kaelo has brought to us is the picture in our society.
Yes.
And this is therefore an invitation to a dialogue. We are asking, why can't society reflect seriously on these values and those aspects that really make us unable to allow children to explore their potential?
Yes.
And this is therefore an invitation in a classroom where the students have to go back to their environment and tell us a few of the things that happen in their own environment that relate to this. That is when literature becomes interesting.
Yes.
On that note, we come to the end of today's episode, in which we focused on characterization in Blossoms of the Savannah. We will continue our discussion of characterization in our next episode. To discuss this with me was Madam Brenda Midika. Thank you very much for finding time to share your ideas with the teachers and the students in the Republic of Kenya. On behalf of my crew, Neka and Pambi, I would like to invite you to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I am Igara Kabaji.